You've been lied to your entire life about what a man thinks after intimacy. Today, you're going to discover the brutal truth. What really goes through his mind in those precise moments. Why so many women lose their power at that very instant. And how to use that moment to forge a bond so deep and magnetic that no other connection could ever replace you. Stay until the end, because this video isn't just about understanding him. It's about transforming yourself into the woman who, after a moment of intimacy, becomes his refuge, his mystery, and his deepest spiritual connection. What you'll learn today will forever change the way you experience intimacy and the way you are loved. As always, I deeply thank the members of our channel. Every day, new strong souls join us. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for this incredible support. If you'd like to join our community and enjoy exclusive benefits, I've left all the information in the description of this video. So, hit the like button right now and subscribe. It's completely free for you and it helps me tremendously. Also, share this video with someone you know needs to hear it. Ready? Let's dive in. The masculine void. After intimacy, the truth no one tells you. Tell me if this sounds familiar. Just seconds ago you were in his arms, feeling his quickened breath and his gaze filled with desire. You felt his skin against yours, his voice whispering words that made your soul tremble. And in that moment, you believed, this is a real connection. But as soon as the climax is over, his body turns away. His gaze drifts to the ceiling or into nothingness, and his silence becomes like a cold knife plunging into your chest. Has this happened to you? In that moment, something inside you breaks. Your mind starts screaming things that hurt more than any direct rejection. He just used me to relieve himself. I wasn't enough to hold his attention after this. He was so warm before, and now it's like I don't even exist. Here's the first brutal truth. It's not that he doesn't like you anymore. It's not that he doesn't want you. It's not that he's emotionally rejecting you. But understanding his masculine process isn't as simple as saying, don't worry, it's normal. And that's it. Because behind that silence lies something much deeper, more unconscious, more mysterious, and more dangerous if you don't know how to handle it. Let me tell you the story of Laura, 45 years old, divorced for 3 years, who dared to open her heart again with Diego, 47. After weeks of intense messages, magnetic glances, and kisses that brought her back to life, they decided to share their first moment of intimacy. For her, it was a sacred moment. She felt every caress like a silent prayer and every kiss like an unspoken, I choose you. But as soon as the moment ended, Diego gave her a soft kiss, sighed, turned over, and stared at the ceiling without saying a word. Laura felt an icy shiver run down her spine. Her mind began to work like a torture machine. It was just sex for him. Maybe I wasn't good enough. He's going to ghost me and disappear. But what Laura didn't know at that moment was that she was about to make the mistake that thousands of women make without realizing it. A mistake that, instead of sealing that moment as an invisible bond in his unconscious, ends up breaking the possibility of a true connection. Because here's something few women understand. After intimacy, a man doesn't enter a state of connection. He enters a void. And this masculine void is much more than a mere biological or physical reaction. It's a process that encompasses his body, his mind, his shadow, and his energy. Physically, his body releases a hormone called prolactin, which induces fatigue and a need for space. Psychologically, his brain emotionally disconnects for a moment, as if it needs to reset after such an intense explosion. Energetically, his vibration retracts inward, because the masculine nature tends to return to its center after expansion. But before you think this is the whole truth, listen closely. What truly defines that moment isn't his void. It's what you do with his void. If, in those fleeting seconds, you become the woman who seeks immediate answers, if you look at him with eyes full of fear and ask, "Are you okay?" or say, "I don't feel you connected," his unconscious will associate your energy with pressure, lack, and anxiety. But if you learn what I'm about to teach you in the following points, if you learn to read his silence with feminine wisdom, if you know how to use that instant as a portal of power rather than an abyss of fear, that same man who turns away to look at you from a distance will begin to seek you with a desire deeper than you could ever have imagined. Here's the vibrational integration of this point, which is just the beginning of this journey. The masculine void after intimacy is not rejection. It's his energy returning to its center. But understanding this isn't enough. What truly matters is knowing how to use that moment to forge an emotional and energetic bond that no other woman can break. And you'll learn that in the next few minutes. Stay with me, because in the next point you'll discover what really goes through his mind after intimacy, and you'll understand why his reaction has much more to do with his unconscious shadows than with you. What's coming will give you a power so profound that after today, no man will ever see you the same way again. What really goes through his mind? The Jungian interpretation of his post-intimacy reaction. Before we continue, if this message is already stirring something inside you, subscribe right now and give it a like. This lets YouTube know the content is valuable and helps it get recommended. Thank you so much. Now that you know the masculine void after intimacy isn't a direct rejection, I want to take you to an even deeper level of truth. Because his silence isn't just biological or energetic. It's a doorway into his inner world, his shadows, his fears, and his most hidden desires. Carl Jung said that a man's unconscious reaction after intimacy is the truest expression of his relationship with his own shadow. And this truth is so brutal it can hurt. But if you understand it and use it wisely, you'll become the woman no one else can replace. Let me tell you the story of Patricia, 51 years old, married to Hector, 54, for 27 years. A marriage that, to everyone's eyes, was stable and blessed. 2 grown, hard-working children, a house built through effort, a family that admired their union. But Patricia felt an increasingly deep void after every intimate moment with Hector. Let me tell you how that moment played out for her. During intimacy, Hector touched her with strength and desire. He looked at her with intensity and seemed to give himself completely. She felt her body vibrate, and her heart burst with love and gratitude. In that moment, she thought, "This is the man of my life. Even after all these years together, I can still make him feel this way." But as soon as it was over, Hector sighed, turned onto his back, closed his eyes, and fell into complete silence. Sometimes he even seemed to fall asleep immediately. And in that instant, Patricia felt her soul freeze. Her mind began whispering poisonous thoughts. "I don't matter to him anymore. He just uses me to relieve himself. I've never been enough for him." But here's the brutal truth that Jung revealed, and it will change your perspective forever. What a man thinks immediately after intimacy doesn't always have to do with you. It has to do with himself, his unconscious, his shadow, and his own emotional wound. For many men, physical intimacy is their only fast track to experiencing emotional release. During those minutes, they allow themselves to let go of their fears, their stress, their pressure, their control. But as soon as it's over, their mind snaps back to reality with force, and their unconscious reminds them of all their burdens, responsibilities, and guilt. That void, that silence, isn't a lack of love. It's the immediate reactivation of their survival system and their masculine shadow. Here's what Carl Jung explained about the masculine shadow. A man in his unconscious, is constantly torn between his protective instinct and his need for freedom. Physical intimacy makes him feel vulnerable, exposed, open. And once it's over, his ego needs to regain a sense of control and separation. That's why he enters silence or turns away to close that vulnerability. Think of it this way. During intimacy, his masculine energy dissolves into the encounter with you. But afterward, his unconscious screams, "Come back to yourself. Don't stay exposed. Return to your center before you lose your freedom and control." This isn't something rational or conscious. It's an archetypal masculine pattern, etched into his instinct. Patricia began to notice this in Hector after a deep therapeutic process. One night, after a moment when he turned away in silence again, she decided not to feel rejected. Instead of seeking his gaze or asking, "Are you okay?" she simply took a deep breath, gently caressed her own arm, and closed her eyes, feeling her own inner peace. In that moment, something shifted. A few minutes later, Hector slowly turned toward her, wrapped his arms around her waist from behind, and whispered in her ear, "Thank you for always being there. You don't know what you mean to me." Here's the brutal revelation. When you don't invade his void with your need, he feels free to return to you of his own will, not out of obligation. And the woman who allows that freedom without feeling it as a threat becomes the sacred space his masculine soul will never leave. But listen closely, because this isn't the whole truth. What a man thinks after intimacy isn't just determined by his shadow, but also by what you do in the minutes that follow. And that's where the fatal mistake comes in, which you'll learn about in the next point. A mistake that, if you keep making it, can erase in seconds all the magnetism you've created in his unconscious. Stay with me, because what you'll discover next will show you the invisible line between being the woman he respects and always desires, or the woman his shadow learns to ignore. The fatal mistake. Many women make in those minutes, and how it sabotages the bond. If the first 2 points opened your eyes to the masculine void, and what really goes through his mind after intimacy, this point will be like a dagger of truth, but also a balm for your soul. Because today you'll discover the near universal mistake so many women make that destroys their magnetism without them realizing it. Let me tell you the story of Anna, 53 years old, married to Leonardo, 55, for 29 years. Throughout their marriage, they always had a good physical connection. He was an affectionate man during intimacy, seeking her with desire and making her feel alive. But every time they finished, Anna felt a profound void. He would turn to stare at the ceiling, get up to go to the bathroom without looking at her, or hold her for just a few seconds before falling into total silence. That silence was like a bucket of cold water on her feminine soul. So every time it happened, Anna tried to fill that void immediately. She would move closer, hug him tightly, caress his chest, and say things like, "Are you okay, love? Did you feel good with me? Tell me you love me. Why aren't you talking? I feel alone when you're silent." Here's the brutal truth. Every time Anna did this, Leonardo tensed up even more. His body stiffened, his breathing changed, and suddenly he didn't want to hold her anymore. And in Anna's mind, all she could hear was a gut-wrenching scream. "Why, if I love him so much, do I feel like I'm losing him every time I show him my love after intimacy?" Carl Jung said that the masculine soul needs to return to its center after a moment of great openness. And if that return isn't allowed, the energetic connection breaks. Here's the fatal mistake so many women make: seeking immediate validation after intimacy. Listen to this with an open heart, even if it hurts. When, after an intimate moment, you ask him if he loves you, if it was good, if he's happy, if he feels connected, your energy doesn't radiate love. It radiates need. Your vibration doesn't say, I love you, and I'm at peace. It says, I need you to confirm that I'm worth something, or I'll feel empty. And here's the unconscious reaction of a man to that energy. He feels trapped. He feels pressured. He feels obligated to reaffirm something that, for his masculine nature, doesn't require words in that moment. Let me explain this more deeply. During intimacy, he's already given you his body, his desire, his breath, and his vital energy. For him, that act is already the demonstration that he chooses you. But when, after that moment, you ask for immediate verbal or emotional validation, his unconscious feels like you're tying him down, and his primal instinct seeks to break free. This isn't because he's immature or cold. It's because his masculine nature is designed to return to its center, its calm, its silence. And when that's not allowed, his energy feels a loss of freedom, and freedom is the most sacred treasure for a man. Let me tell you what happened with Anna. After years of repeating this pattern, one day, she decided to change. During a therapy session, she understood, my love doesn't have to become a demand. My peace is more powerful than my need. That night, after a moment with Leonardo, instead of hugging him and seeking his words, she closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and stayed silent with a gentle smile of peace on her face. She didn't turn her body toward him to seek him out. She didn't speak. She didn't ask anything. She simply stayed present in her own energy, gently caressing his arm while feeling his calmed breath. And do you know what happened? A few minutes later, Leonardo turned toward her, wrapped his arms around her from behind, and whispered something he hadn't said in years. Thank you for this. I love you more than you know. Here's the vibrational integration of this point. The fatal mistake isn't loving him. It's seeking his immediate confirmation of love to calm your fear. When you learn to maintain your calm and silence with gentleness and power after intimacy, his masculine soul perceives you as a refuge, not a demand. And that moment becomes an invisible bond that ties him to you without you having to ask for it. But this isn't over yet. Because in the next point, you'll learn the energetic ritual you can perform in those minutes to seal the bond with him so deeply that his unconscious will never be able to break it. Stay. Because what's coming isn't just advice. It's a ritual that transforms your vibration and his soul forever. The energetic ritual of the conscious woman, how to seal the bond from your power. You've made it this far, understanding truths that most women remain unaware of their entire lives. That his void after intimacy isn't rejection. That his silent mind is a return to his center. And that your mistake isn't loving him, but seeking validation when his energy needs calm. But today, you're going to receive something you won't find anywhere else. The energetic ritual that transforms an ordinary woman into a woman impossible to replace. Let me tell you the story of Daniela, 35 years old, married to Hugo, 36, for 10 years. For years, Daniela lived the same story in her bed. Intimacy full of passion, kisses that made her feel alive, caresses that reconnected her with her femininity. But as soon as that moment ended, Hugo would turn over and fall asleep in seconds, leaving her with suppressed tears, a knot in her throat, and a void that hurt more than any direct rejection. One day, while listening to a workshop on feminine energy and masculine psychology, she heard something that pierced her soul. After intimacy, you don't need his words to seal the bond. You need your energy. And here's the brutal revelation that changed her life, and will change yours today. The bond isn't sealed with questions, desperate embraces, or anxious declarations of love. It's sealed with your deep and silent feminine vibration. Here's the complete energetic ritual I taught Daniela, and that I'm giving to you today. Step 1. The breath of returning to yourself. When he finishes and his energy enters the void, don't try to fill that void with words or forced caresses. Gently close your eyes and bring your attention to your belly. Breathe deeply, feeling your energy return to you. Inhale with the intention of reclaiming your power, and exhale with the intention of expanding peace. This breath cuts the thread of need and activates your vibrational magnetism. Step 2. The silent smile. As you breathe, draw a soft, subtle smile on your lips. This smile isn't for him, it's for you. This smile radiates the vibration of a woman at peace with herself, a woman who needs nothing to feel complete. And his unconscious perceives this vibration as a mystery he can't unravel. And nothing attracts the masculine soul more than a peaceful mystery. Step 3. The inner energetic declaration. While you smile and breathe, repeat in your mind, without moving your lips, I am enough. My energy is a gift. I choose to share it, not give it away. This declaration seals your energetic field and cuts any vibration of dependency. Step 4. The gentle touch without expectation. If you choose to touch him afterward, do it without expectation. Place your hand gently on his chest or arm for a couple of seconds, just to transmit serenity, not to seek an embrace or words of confirmation. Then withdraw your hand and return to your breath and your smile. Step 5. The sovereign withdrawal. If he falls asleep or remains silent, don't look at him with sadness or linger waiting for his reaction. If you want to get up to go to the bathroom, do it with softness and elegance. If you want to stay lying down, maintain a calm breath and connect with your inner gratitude. This withdrawal without resentment radiates the vibration of a woman who is the queen of her inner temple, not a subject seeking love. Let me tell you what happened with Daniela the first time she applied this ritual. After an intimate moment, as Hugo turned away as usual, she closed her eyes, breathed into her belly, smiled softly, and repeated her inner declaration. She didn't hug him, didn't ask anything, didn't seek his gaze. And a few minutes later, something happened that hadn't occurred in years. Hugo slowly turned toward her, looked at her in silence, and with a trembling voice said, I never tell you this, but you are my peace. And that night, for the first time in years, he held her of his own accord until he fell asleep. Here's the final integration of this ritual. The woman who knows how to seal the bond from her energy, without words, without questions, without demands, becomes a temple of peace for his masculine soul. And a man can resist words, flee from complaints, but he can never walk away from a woman who makes him feel at home without saying a thing. But this isn't over yet. Because in the next point you'll discover how, when intimacy transcends mere physical passion to become a conscious spiritual act, it creates a bond that no other connection can ever replace. Stay with me, because what's coming is the deepest and most powerful revelation of this entire journey. When intimacy transcends, how that moment creates a bond no other connection can replace. Do you know what the true emotional tragedy of most women is? It's not that they don't know how to love. It's not that they're incapable of giving pleasure. It's not that they aren't beautiful, sensual, or passionate. The real tragedy is that, even being all of that, they never learn to use intimacy as a portal for transcendence. Because for most, intimacy is a physical act with emotional implications. But for the conscious woman, intimacy is a spiritual act with eternal implications. Let me tell you the story of Juliana, 41 years old, married to Ramiro, 42, for 18 years. From the outside, they were the dream couple. They traveled twice a year, had a growing business, and their children were kind and well-mannered. But every night, Juliana fell asleep feeling like something was missing. Something she couldn't explain, because it wasn't a lack of love or passion, but a lack of spiritual connection. Every time they shared an intimate moment, Ramiro desired her with intensity, kissed her with hunger and made her tremble with pleasure. But as soon as it was over, he turned over with a deep sigh, closed his eyes, and within minutes was already asleep. Juliana, lying beside him in the dim light, stared at the ceiling with silent tears. It wasn't sadness about the sex. It wasn't physical pain. It was an inexplicable void screaming at her. Is that all? Is this what intimacy is after so many years together? And here's the brutal truth no one had taught her. The body can touch you and give you pleasure, but only energy and consciousness can touch your soul. Carl Jung said that intimacy, when lived without consciousness, only reinforces the illusion of the ego. But when lived with spiritual presence, it becomes an act of integration, of the shadow and the light, the ego, the instinct, and the spirit, the desire, and true love. One day, Juliana heard something that changed her perspective forever. The physical climax is only a fragment of intimacy's potential. Its true purpose is to create a vibrational bond that no other woman can ever replace. And she understood something I want you to understand today. When intimacy transcends, it doesn't tie him to you through the body. It ties him to you through his soul. What does it mean for intimacy to transcend? It means that when your bodies unite, your mind is silent, your heart is open, and your energy is anchored in the present moment, without fear of losing him or the need to please him. It means that while he touches you, you're not thinking about whether he finds you beautiful, whether he'll leave afterward, or whether he'll love you tomorrow. You are there, surrendered without expectations, radiating a peace so powerful that his unconscious feels he's touching something divine through you. And that feeling, no man ever forgets it. The transcendence ritual that sealed their bond. Juliana decided to change her energy during intimacy. The next time they were together before he reached climax, she closed her eyes and repeated internally, "I am the portal of his peace. I am the woman his soul can never replace." As he surrendered to pleasure, she looked at him with gentle serenity, without lack, without demand, without fear. And when it was over and his body collapsed beside her, she didn't seek his gaze, didn't ask for words of love, didn't reproach his silence. Instead, she gently placed her hand on his chest, closed her eyes, breathed deeply, and smiled. In that moment, Ramiro opened his eyes and looked at her as if seeing her for the first time. His breath trembled and his pupils filled with held-back tears. With a broken voice, he said, "I don't know what's different about you today, but I felt I loved you like never before." Here's the mystical revelation behind this result. Intimacy transcends when you don't use it to gain love, but to offer presence. When your vibration is anchored in peace and certainty, his soul perceives something no other woman has given him. The experience of being loved without conditions or ties. And that experience is so powerful for a man that no matter how many bodies he touches afterward, his unconscious will always return to the woman, who for a moment made him feel he was touching God through her skin. Here's the final integration of this point. It's not your body that creates an unbreakable bond. It's the vibrational quality of your energy during and after intimacy. The woman who learns to transform sex into an act of transcendence becomes the indelible memory in his masculine soul. But this isn't over yet, because in the final conclusion, we'll seal all this knowledge into a single decree of power, so that from today onward, you're not just the woman who understands a man, but the woman who becomes his most sacred temple, the place he'll always want to return to, no matter how much distance he tries to create. Stay, because the conclusion coming up is the vibrational decree that will change your intimate and emotional life forever. Conclusion. It's not your beauty that keeps him by your side. It's not your total surrender that ties him to you. It's the energy with which you live every intimate moment and every silence that follows. When a woman learns to transform intimacy into an act of sacred presence, she becomes the place his soul will always want to return to, even when his mind thinks it can walk away. Comment below. Now I understand his void and my power. Declare it and anchor this new wisdom in every cell of your body. Because from today onward, you won't just be the woman who loves. You'll be the woman who, with her mere presence, connects him to something so divine that he'll never be able to replace it. And if this message resonated with you, I invite you to leave a powerful like, subscribe, and activate the notification bell without fail. If you feel in your heart the desire to support this space further, you can now join the channel's members and enjoy exclusive benefits like priority responses to your comments and psychological questions, participating in decisions about upcoming videos, and receiving closer guidance in your transformation process. But don't leave yet. On the screen, I'm sharing 2 videos that I'm sure you'll love. 2 pieces of wisdom of immense value. I'll be waiting for you in the one you choose. As always, I'm Gabriel, your favorite psychologist and philosopher. See you there.